Hi, hello, my name is Juno, your local Mothman, and welcome to my aesthetic deep dive series in which I analyze and explain internet aesthetics while making art inspired by them. And today, we will be taking a look at Weirdcore and how this confusing and mysterious aesthetic has been deeply misunderstood by the users of the World Wide Web. I am going to show you an image, and then I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Don't worry, this isn't a test. Ready? Where are we? Have you been here before? Where is the exit? Why are you here? Don't you remember? While I personally love Weirdcore, I understand why so many people are turned off by it. The confusing and scary first impression can be enough to make a person so uncomfortable that they decide to no longer engage with the aesthetic further. But I would like to invite you to take my hand, relax, and explore what lies beneath the discomfort. Because I truly believe that what is lurking under the poor quality and odd realities of the aesthetic elevates Weirdcore to a realm not often explored by other internet aesthetics. But why? Let me explain. At first glance, Weirdcore fits the definition of an internet aesthetic perfectly. It has accounts and mood boards dedicated to posting and reposting content made in line with the visual guidelines of Weirdcore. There are entire communities online based around the aesthetic and is popular across many platforms and created in many different forms. Where it differs significantly from others is in what the aesthetic focuses on and how it gets treated by the wider audience compared to other equally popular aesthetics. Overall, the most popular internet aesthetics take real-life concepts such as institutions responsible for higher education, for example, take the neat, beautiful parts, ignore the bad bits, and then romanticize the aestheticized version of reality. And then later, once the aesthetic hits the mainstream, it becomes a wonderful marketing tool for companies looking to sell products. And so, the internet-born aesthetics bleeds into reality, turning into a manufactured lifestyle, fashion trends, inspiring home decor and product design. We've seen it with Dark Academia, Tumblr Girl Aesthetic, Kidcore, on which I already made a video if you would like to watch it, the link is in the description, and many others. But Weirdcore will never be able to follow in their footsteps. There have been attempts to commercialize Weirdcore, however, the attempt failed, simply splitting the aesthetic into its original version and the new one. Because Weirdcore, unlike other aesthetics, isn't trying to sell you an escapist daydream or convince you to prefer a certain color palette and clothing style over others. It isn't focused on beauty and visual appeal, and most importantly, it cannot function outside of the internet. That's what makes Weirdcore and Weirdcore adjacent aesthetics so unique. And because of that, I would like to prove to you that Weirdcore is an art movement. An art movement is a tendency or style in art with specific common philosophy or goal, followed by a group of artists during a specific period of time, usually a few months, years, or decades. So there are three criteria Weirdcore needs to fill in order for my claim to be true. It needs a clear artistic style, an ideology behind it, and a time frame. Well, Weirdcore dates back to the early 2010s and is still ongoing. But what's the philosophy here? Is there even a goal? To answer that question, we need to analyze Weirdcore one layer at a time, starting with its visual themes and artistic style. What makes a Weirdcore image? For an image to be a Weirdcore image, it needs to feel like you could have found it by browsing through the old internet. A Weirdcore image is a low-quality photograph, art piece, or screenshot, which serves as the background on top of which there are some edited elements. And the image is often tied together by text, although it's not necessary. There are three types of backgrounds commonly used in Weirdcore. First one being interiors, photos of room, kitchens, rarely bathrooms, either cluttered or eerily empty, like liminal spaces for example. Next up, there are forests or overall vegetation, often at night. The third one are fields and American suburbs. And what ties these places together is that they are places we usually spend a lot of time in. They need to feel familiar, otherwise the aesthetic won't work. There's of course also a different genre of imagery, where instead of a photograph, we have a screenshot of a badly rendered video game, the early internet, or old versions of an operating system. There are many things people edit on top of those backgrounds. However, there are a couple which seems to be staples of the aesthetic. And the most famous one, the one that is nowadays associated with the commercialized version of Weirdcore, are of course the shadow people. A shadow person, also known as a shadow figure or black mass, is the perception of a patch of shadow as a living humanoid figure and interpreted as the presence of a spirit or other entity by believers in the paranormal and supernatural. However, I believe that shadow people have more of a symbolic meaning than a supernatural one. The shadow people are nothing more than that. Shadows, frames of people, with no faces, no identities, no stories to be told. They represent how, when looking back at our memories, especially those earlier ones, we know that other people were there with us, but we most likely don't remember them. The people from our past, neighbors, classmates, older relatives that passed away, those were all real people with memories of their own, aspirations, struggles, and thoughts. But to us, they're merely shadows, entities with no faces. Shadow people in Weirdcore are there for us to project our own memories onto them. They go from being a black mass to somebody we used to know. Not only shadow people lurk at the edges of the images, from the corners of the rooms and beams of light, widely open eyes stare straight into our souls. The eyes are one of the more recognizable motifs of the aesthetic due to the popularity with TikTok Weirdcore creators. However, I understand that there's a big debate going on in the community about what is real Weirdcore and what is the new over-edited version of Weirdcore, and I know that the eyes are often associated with the new commercialized version of Weirdcore. However, I will still analyze them because I think that they are important. The eyes are scary to us because humans mostly open their eyes wide in moments of fear. It's an alarm signal, and we instinctively start to feel uneasy when fully open eyes with pupils blown look at us, forcing eye contact. Angelic beings might also pay us a visit while scrolling through a Weirdcore account. I believe they are more associated with Dreamcore, although Weirdcore and Dreamcore overlap quite a lot, and some creators tag their images with both, so it's difficult to tell. But wings and halos, as well as many glowing eyes, are often edited with pictures of animals, especially deers and cats. Although the cats are part of the starflesh aesthetic, which I might analyze in another video if you'd like me to. I believe that deer appear for two reasons. One being the fact that the deer species inhabit most of the globe, meaning that more people have seen a deer in the backyard than, let's say, a kangaroo. Once again, the feeling of familiarity is essential to Weirdcore. And secondly, deer symbolize innocence and naivety, which I believe adds to the oddity of seeing them distorted. The color yellow is something I strongly associate with Weirdcore, although I know it's not a popular motif. Yellow smiley faces, yellow walls, yellow fields. I don't know what about those images in particular spoke to me. I guess I just enjoy the color theory behind yellow. There's a reason why so many different kid characters in horror franchises have a yellow color scheme. In a grim and scary world, yellow feels out of place and seems innocent. On the other hand, in the natural world, bright yellow is a warning sign the animals use to warn predators of their poison glands. Yellow is the color of rot and aging. It is also the color of hope. A Weirdcore image is rarely complete without the text, and I, for one, love the text. It evokes emotion. When analyzing a piece of art, especially written, we usually take into consideration the author behind the work, their backstory, time frame in which they were creating, and personal ideology. Here, that context is gone. Our knowledge on the author starts and ends with a username at best. With no frame of reference, we're left with purely our own interpretation. That's why I think so many people are drawn to Weirdcore. It allows you to interpret every aspect of it very intimately without constraints. And that lack of context is essential to Weirdcore. The way it manages to deliver its message is through confusion after all. But let's try and dissect it regardless. What does it mean? What is it trying to say? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? I'm sorry. I'm confused and... In an ever-changing world, nothing stays the same. The place you grew up in doesn't exist anymore. Your childhood friends don't exist anymore. They're not your friends. They're strangers now. The things that were thought of as essential 20, 15, 10, 5 years ago don't matter anymore. I don't feel like myself. So how are you supposed to feel like you belong? Like there's a place in this world for you. You, a creature of habit created by the past that holds no bearing on this new reality. Who are you? What are you? Don't you remember? All I feel is dread. Isn't it terrifying? The version of reality you are part of doesn't exist anymore. And if bits and pieces of what make you, have been lost to time and progress, can you really tell that you are you? The original you? The you were supposed to be? Are you real? Sorry, that's a stupid question. Of course you're not real. Because I can't remember. There are great chunks of time I don't remember. And the small moments I do remember, I wish I didn't. But when I really center myself, I can see it. My many, many childhood homes. The playground that got demolished recently. The oppressing bright green walls of a daycare my parents would send me to. My childhood friends. My first dog. But if I focus too much, those memories become wobbly. I can't remember anything concrete other than these small moments, frozen in time and warped by years that have passed by since. With every passing moment, we're losing a bit of our past selves. Memory loss begins in our 20s, so for me and most participants of the year aesthetic, it has already begun. Our memory can also be affected by trauma, emotional disorders, or high stress, but it's important to remember that Weirdcore doesn't focus on trauma. It focuses on what remains, despite the trauma, what is left of the past within you. It helps to deal with loss and the passing of people and places, of losing yourself alongside those things. Even though the spaces shown in Weirdcore edits are not familiar to me in particular, they still feel and look like something I've seen before. The low quality tricks your mind into filling the gaps. An image of a kitchen suddenly becomes the kitchen of your late grandmother. A bed looks like the bed you slept in at your old house. And look, it's your 4th birthday again. It's the drive back home from school. Your brain is desperate to find the connection, to recognize the pattern, even if that means it has to bend the truth. Weirdcore is about remembering, the burning memory that's tethering on the edge of being forgotten. The memories that were the ones that made us who we are today often don't stick around in a solid form because they weren't a single moment in time, but rather places, habits, routines. And since those memories fade away, our current reality that was shaped by them feels incomplete and empty. Those memories were crucial parts of our identity, and losing them feels like losing a part of yourself. That is the goal of Weirdcore. That is its philosophy. It's trying to make you remember, and everything that comes with that. The regret of past mistakes, the guilt of not remembering what was once so important, the dread in knowing that there is no stopping to this entropy, the longing for the comforts of the past, the alienation of being in a world that also doesn't remember, the derealization that comes with understanding the passage of time, the dissociation of trying to forget, or worse, of trying to lose yourself in the memories. And that's why I love Weirdcore. You don't have to feel that way. Maybe to you, your past and present form a coherent path that you fully understand and embrace. But for many, that isn't the case. Thank you for watching this video to the end. The links to the artists whose work I've been showing throughout this video will be in the description, as well as the music I've been using. If you like this video and are interested in more, please consider subscribing and let me know in the comments what other aesthetics I should cover next. Thank you once more for everything, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye!